My name is Adam. I got married young. To the love of my life. Her name is Sarah. We had no money, no big party, no white dress, and no special room. We stayed in my parents' house, in one small room, with broken walls and a leaking roof. People whispered around us, said we were lost, said we rushed, and we would regret. But I loved Sarah, and she loved me. We didn't care. We just wanted peace. She made me tea every morning before I left for my delivery job. She kissed my hand, wished me luck, and always smiled, even with tired eyes. She never asked for gold or perfume or trips, just kindness and time. At night we sat, counted coins, shared bread, and made small dreams. We said one day we will grow, we will rise, and we will make it. Sarah worked hard, at home all day, sewing clothes, fixing buttons, and folding fabric. Her fingers hurt, her back ached, but she smiled and said, "We're okay." We had no fridge, no washing machine, no TV, and no heater. But we had music, we had hope, we had prayers, and we had each other. People said, "This is not life." But we said, "This is our life, and we're fine." Even in cold nights, under a thin blanket, we held hands and felt warm. Sometimes we cried when rent was due, when clothes were old, when food was gone. But we always hugged, wiped each other's tears, and whispered soft words. We didn't ask for help. We didn't borrow. We didn't want fake respect. We chose the hard way, the honest way, the real way, and we stayed strong. Sarah used to say, "Love is not comfort, it's care in pain, and peace in chaos." Her words were simple, but deep inside, they kept me going. Every hard day. I was tired, I was poor, but I was proud and I felt lucky. Because even in that room, with nothing at all, we felt rich inside. Some people smiled, but not with hearts. They smiled with doubt and looked with pride. They said things like, "Why so fast?" or "You should wait and live better." Sarah heard them all, every whisper, every laugh, every cold comment. She never cried outside, but at night I saw her eyes, full of questions. Our friends changed. Some walked away, some stopped calling, some stayed quiet. We didn't party. We didn't travel. We didn't wear new clothes or show off. We didn't have makeup, perfumes, big gifts, or golden rings. But we had peace, deep love, soft words, and honest hearts. One day an aunt said, "You made a mistake. Poor love brings pain." Sarah looked down, held my hand, and smiled with eyes full of grace. She said later, "Let them talk. I don't want easy. I want true." Her strength amazed me. Her patience healed me. Her love grew more. We faced cold winters, broken shoes, no heating, and silent holidays. We had old jackets, burned pots, thin socks, and flickering lights. But we laughed at silly things, shared simple meals, and dreamed big together. Our dreams were not gold, not cars, not fame, but just peace and home. We tried small jobs, delivered meals, sold snacks, and fixed old things. Sarah baked bread, made pickles, folded wrappers, and counted coins. I cleaned cars, painted walls, carried boxes, and drove for hours. Every coin we made felt like gold because it came clean. Neighbors watched us. Some smiled, some judged, some waited to see. One man said, "They'll fail soon." Another laughed, "This won't last." But we kept going, one day at a time, with prayers and effort. We didn't answer, we just worked, we just loved, we just believed. Sarah used to sing while cooking rice or folding clothes or making tea. Her voice was soft, full of peace, even when tired, even when sick. She made our home warm with nothing much, just with love and care. I felt rich every time she smiled, every time she said, "We're okay." We didn't post pictures, we didn't share fake smiles, we lived real. We didn't copy others, we didn't follow trends, we followed our path. Sometimes I worried, sometimes I broke, but her hands pulled me back. She never left, never blamed, never shouted, just held my heart. One day I came home, tired and cold, and found hot soup ready. Sarah kissed my hand, sat beside me, asked how work was. I cried that night, not from pain, but from her love. I said, "You deserve more." And she replied, "I have more than enough." She taught me value, not in things, but in peace and presence. We had no loud TV, but we had quiet talks and soft hugs. We had no car, but we walked holding hands with warm smiles. We had no show, but we had soul. We had something rare. We woke up one morning, sat near the stove, and counted our small coins. Sarah looked at me gently, smiled through the silence, and said, "Let's try something." I asked what she meant. She said, "We can cook food, and you deliver it." It was a simple plan, no big dreams, just small steps and clean work. Sarah cooked rice and meat, added fresh bread, and packed every meal carefully. I rode my old bike, knocked on doors, and offered food with a kind voice. Some people refused, others ignored me, but a few gave it a small try. One man liked the food, told his office friend, and we sold 2 more the next day. We kept going each day, cooking early, packing neatly, and smiling with hope. The orders grew slowly, people talked kindly, and they returned again for lunch. We wrote our names on each box, added thank you notes, and hoped for trust. It wasn't much money, but it was clean money, and we felt proud every time. Soon we had 10 orders, then 20, then we were busy from morning to night. Sarah worked in the kitchen mixing spices while I carried heavy pots around. We didn't complain, we didn't rest much, but we laughed at small things together. The kitchen was hot and loud, but our hearts felt calm and full of love. After some months passed, a man called me. He owned a new office company. He said he liked our food, asked for 50 meals daily, and we were surprised. Sarah stayed quiet at first, then said yes with a deep breath and strong eyes. We worked hard for that deal, cooked more meals, and bought more supplies together. The man came again later, said he could bring cheaper ingredients for us. He smiled with nice words, brought big boxes, and asked for full payment fast. We gave him everything we had, hoping for help, believing in his kind voice. But when we opened the meat, it smelled rotten. The rice was old and broken. I sat on the floor shaking, held my head, and didn't say a word at all. Sarah cleaned in silence, then sat beside me and held my hand so softly. I said it was my fault. I ruined our dream and broke her small happiness. She looked at me with peace and said we still had each other. Not all was gone. That night we didn't eat much, but we sat close and spoke with quiet voices. We lost the money we saved and the trust of some customers we loved, but Sarah didn't give up. She made tea and said we will start again tomorrow. I felt weak inside, but I believed her eyes more than any word I ever heard. The next day we started with one plate, just rice and beans in a small box. I went walking from street to street asking people to give it just one try. Some said no, some looked busy, but one woman smiled and paid right away. She came again later, told her neighbor, and slowly one turned into 10 again. We learned not to rush, to keep our work honest, and never forget the lesson. Sarah smiled more while cooking, and I sang quietly while washing the vegetables. We bought new pots when we could, cleaned more often, and wrote kind notes again. People came because of taste, but stayed because of care, and we grew with them. After long months passed, we had enough to rent a small space near the market. It had 2 windows, an old fan, and space for one stove and one fridge. But it was our shop now, with our name painted gently above the front door. Sarah cried quietly that night, not from sadness, but from a feeling of arrival. We opened the next morning. No music, no balloons, just food and open hearts. Our first customer was an old man who ate slowly, smiled, and gave us a hug. Then came a teacher, then 2 students, and soon we were cooking without pause. The shop was small, but our hope was large, and our days felt full of meaning. We hired a helper, a young girl with kind eyes who needed work and safety. Sarah taught her gently, showed her how to mix and how to speak with kindness. I handled the deliveries still, packed the meals, and smiled at every customer. We became a small team, working together with love and dreaming of better days. Our small shop was busy. People came daily, they liked the food, and they liked us. Sarah greeted each one kindly, asked about their day, and added love to every dish. I cleaned the tables often, helped in the kitchen, and smiled at each thank you. Every meal felt special, not because it was big, but because it was made with care. We worked 12 hours daily, cooked without stopping, washed the dishes, and counted coins. Sarah stayed up at night, fixing the recipes, checking the spices, and writing shopping lists. I woke early each morning, carried the gas tank, bought the vegetables, and cleaned the shop. We didn't rest much, we didn't go out, but our hearts stayed warm and full of hope. One day we found out Our helper was sick, her father lost work, and she couldn't eat. Sarah packed food for her, gave her money, and told her to rest as long as needed. The girl cried quietly, said thank you many times, and promised to return stronger soon. We didn't have much, but we knew what hunger felt like, so we gave without fear. The shop had no signboard, just our names, but people knew it by smell and smiles. One old woman came often, bought soup daily, and said it reminded her of her son. A young man came too, quiet and alone. He always paid more than the price. We didn't ask questions, but we gave him a free cookie and told him to take care. Soon a new family moved nearby. They opened a fancy place with music and lights. Some of our customers went there, drawn by colors, prices, and big advertisement boards. Sarah looked worried, but I told her calmly, people know our hearts, not just the food. We didn't copy them. We didn't change style. We just worked better and stayed kind. One night a big storm came, broke the window, wet our bags, and ruined half the stock. We stood in silence, picked things slowly, and tried not to cry from the sudden shock. Sarah laughed after a while, holding a broken pot, and said, "Still better than giving up." Her smile made me strong. We cleaned the shop, dried the floor, and fixed what we could. After the storm, a journalist visited, asked for our story, and wanted to write about us. Sarah was shy at first, but agreed to speak, told him about the early days and struggles. The next week, our picture was in the newspaper with the title, "Small Shop with a Big Heart." People read the story, came from far away, just to eat and say they support us. We hired another worker, a man who lost everything, but wanted to start again. He cleaned the back room, helped with deliveries, and treated the shop like his home. Sarah gave him old shoes, I gave him my watch, and he thanked us with tears in his eyes. Our small team grew stronger, not in size, but in trust and pure friendship every day. The city started to notice our food was real, our story honest, and people liked that. A woman from a big company called us, asked if we could cook for their monthly event. We said yes with joy, cooked for 50 people, and received praise that lasted for weeks. That event brought more work, we saved money, and started dreaming of a second branch. We visited a small space not far away. It was dusty and old, but had good walls. Sarah walked through each corner, smiled slowly, and said, "It feels like home again." We cleaned it together, painted the walls, and placed a sign that simply said, "Home." It was not about fame, not about money. It was about a second chance, full of light. Soon we opened the second place with the same menu, same kindness, and same tea. Our first shop stayed simple. The new one had seats, but both had the same warm feel. Sarah moved between both places. I handled the kitchen, and we shared the load with love. The workers became like family. We celebrated birthdays and supported each other quietly. A local school called us, asked if we could give lunch to children from poor families. We said yes without thinking, gave small meals, and wrote, "You matter," on each box. The children smiled big, hugged Sarah, and said the food tasted like something happy. We didn't take money for it. We just felt it was the right thing to do every time. One evening we sat alone, tired from work, drinking tea and watching the street lights. I asked her if she missed her old life before all the cooking, before the noise and rush. She held my hand, looked at me, and said, "This is my dream. I just didn't know it yet." We didn't have a big car or golden rings, but we had a life full of meaning and truth. The shop walls had small photos of our journey, our team, and simple thank you notes. Some were from strangers, some from children, and some from people we never met. Each note said the same thing, in different words, that love and honesty leave a mark. That wall became our treasure. More than coins, more than gifts, it was real proof. Years passed slowly, but full of stories, lessons, and moments that shaped our souls. We bought a small house, not big or modern, but it had a garden and quiet nights. Sarah planted flowers there, I built a bench, and we sat each morning before work. Our hearts stayed soft, our love grew stronger, and our hands never stopped giving. We never forgot the early days, the wet ceiling, the hungry nights, the lonely walks. They didn't break us, they built us, and gave our hearts a deeper kind of strength. When someone asked about success, Sarah said, "It's not about what you own, but what you give." I nodded and smiled because I knew she gave me more than the world ever could. We woke up each day early, opened the shop, cleaned the floor, and smiled with joy. The mornings were peaceful. The birds sang soft. The tea was warm, and the street was quiet. Sarah made the eggs, I baked the bread, we shared breakfast, and planned the day. There was no rush, just rhythm, just habit, just a deep calm that stayed with us. Our children were growing fast, both were kind, both were smart, both loved our food. They helped us sometimes, cleaned the counter, served water, and learned about work. We didn't force them, we just showed them that real value lives in effort and heart. They watched our journey, saw our pain, felt our love, and learned from everything. People still asked often how we started, how we survived, how we stayed honest. Sarah always answered simply with kind eyes. We loved more than we feared. We didn't chase riches, we didn't fake smiles, we didn't forget who we were. Even in hard days, we held hands, prayed quietly, and believed in second chances. Sometimes I sat alone in the back room, looked at our first menu, and smiled. It was just paper, handwritten words, some dishes crossed out, some prices wrong. But I kept it safe, like a memory, like a proof that growth comes slow and true. Sarah framed it one day, placed it on the wall, and said, "That's where it began." We were invited to speak in schools and groups to share the story, to give people hope. I was shy at first, but then I stood, looked at the crowd, and told them everything. I told them about the rain, the broken roof, the first meal sold, and the long nights. Sarah joined me after, said a few words, and the room clapped for a long time. We didn't feel famous. We felt grateful. We felt trusted. We felt seen for the first time. That trust was heavy, but also sweet, like a gift given slowly and with care. We used that gift wisely, helped others grow, gave small loans, and trained young hands. They started their shops, failed at first, then tried again, and found their own light. One woman told us, "You gave me courage when no one else did, not even my family." Another young man said, "You taught me that kindness is not weakness, but real power." Those words stayed with us. They echoed deep, louder than coins, stronger than medals. That was the success we never planned, the kind that grows slowly inside your chest. We took one small trip, after many years, just the two of us, to a quiet mountain town. The trees were tall, the air was cold, the roads were empty, and the sky was wide. We walked in silence, held each other, drank hot soup, and remembered our first winter. That trip was short, but it filled our hearts, like the best dream you never forget. Back home, we returned to our daily life, to our shop, and to the people we loved. Some customers had grown old, some had left, but their words remained on our walls. New faces came often, curious and kind, ready to listen and happy to eat. Sarah still cooked with joy, I still greeted them, and our love never changed. One night our son asked, "What made you strong when everything looked hard?" Sarah answered softly, "We didn't try to be strong, we just didn't leave each other." That answer stayed with him. I saw it grow in how he treated his friends and sister. He helped quietly, worked with care, and made us proud in ways we never expected. We lived simply still, no big house, no loud life, but deep comfort in every day. We had enough, not too much, not too little, but just enough to sleep in peace. Our meals were shared, our mornings gentle, our hearts warm with honest work. That was all we needed, all we dreamed, all we promised each other long ago. One afternoon we closed early, sat by the window, drank tea, and watched the rain. Sarah looked at the sky, then at me, and said, "This life feels full now." I didn't speak much, I just nodded and held her hand like the first time. The rain kept falling, but we stayed dry because we had built a strong roof together. People often forget, it's not the money, not the clothes, not the car that makes life. It's the small talks, the shared meals, the quiet support, and the steady hands. It's the choice to stay, the choice to try, the choice to believe in one more chance. That's what we learned, not from books, but from life and from each other every day. Sarah still whispered, "I'm proud of us," each time we faced something new and scary. I whispered back, "I'm proud of you," because I knew her strength carried us many times. We built no palace, but we built peace, and that peace was more golden than gold. In the end, that's all that matters, not the weight of your pockets, but your heart. Now we're older, slower in step, softer in speech, but stronger in love than before. We teach our kids not how to win, but how to try and how to get back up. We tell them stories from the hard days, from the quiet nights, from the small beginnings, and they listen close because they know our words come from real places and scars. Sometimes people ask, "Do you regret anything?" And I always smile and say, "No." Every mistake taught us. Every loss shaped us. Every fight made our roots deeper. Sarah agrees always, with soft eyes, saying, "Even hunger had a lesson to give." We didn't walk a perfect road, but we walked it together, and that made it right.